Welcome to episode 66 of Broad Street Hustle, bringing you another episode where we focus in on the Phillies, since that's all that's going on for the next few weeks until football starts up, and we'll have our big football show at the end of the summer shortly. It should come quick as preseason, I guess, starts this coming week. Um,
Tonight.
but but we will be talking Phillies. We're going to talk some trades. We're going to talk some Trey Turner and a few other things, and then we're going to cover the Saratoga card. So I don't think we're going to do a picks this week, like a multi. It's a little weird how the card's structured. So we're going to stick to talking all stakes races. So we'll be in a sequence for pick threes, but it's not necessarily like a pick four or pick five from start to finish. So you have to figure that out on your own. But we will talk all stakes. Saratoga. It is Whitney weekend. So let's go through who we have. Jason Sayeta, as always.
Hey, Tom. How are
Hello,
you?
Jason. We got Jimmy the Chalk.
Good evening.
Good evening from his fresh off his Saratoga trip. And we got Christopher Michael Meeker in the normal cave.
What's up, guys? So you're back from your hijacking of Jimmy D's place?
Yeah. Apparently, the property manager was getting a lot of calls from the neighbors about their property values going down due to the undesirables. So I had to pack my bags and come home.
That Irish flag probably didn't help.
Yeah, I can't imagine.
It brought a lot of luck.
Yeah.
That's true. Yeah, you
Good couple
had a nice
days.
hit, right?
Good couple days.
Nice.
Stayed out of jail. So
All right, let's jump into this Phillies, specifically around the trade deadline. I know Chalky and maybe somebody, I think I was maybe in that, but wanted a big splash. We did not get a big splash, and who knows why, and we can talk around that. But we did get some starting pitching help, which could change the rotation. It adds to possibly some bullpen as the playoffs, were to start up. You might see some guys move around. So, Jason, you want to go through what the Phillies did here and your thoughts?
Yeah, I think I give Dombrowski a B plus for the trade deadline. You know, I really like the Lorenzen move. The guy is a solid pitcher. He is he's an all-star this year, right? I mean, he's could slot in as your number 4 easily, maybe number 3. I'm not sure, but at least 4. Or if you want, he could just be a higher leverage reliever in the playoffs. You could potentially have a playoff bullpen of either Suarez or Lorenzen, which one, whoever's your 4, obviously would start, but the other would go to the pen, along with Strahm, Soto, Alvarado, Hoffman, Dominguez, and Kimbrel. Pretty strong bullpen. I really like that trade. Rodolfo Castro, he's an upgrade over Harrison. He's not great, but he's 24. He's young. Switch hitter. He's better right-handed than left-handed.
He crushes left-handers. I mean, for what it's worth, his average against
and they wanted a right-handed bat.
Yeah, so right.
And Harrison is done. He can't play anymore. So that's an improvement. Plays second, third, or short. Now, I did a lot of research on him for our fantasy league, and I was always reading a lot about him being a decent hitter with pop, but he, is not great defensively. But I think that's more along the lines of as a shortstop, because that's where he was kind of coming up as. But the other night, I guess it was last night.
Yeah.
What's the name?
Thompson
put him in to replace Sosa at third base. So, maybe he's better at third base than Sosa.
He made the play. There was like a real hard hit. Was a Soler hit a hard grounder to him.
Yeah, he's got a decent arm.
Pretty easily.
Yeah. Now his negatives are he strikes out a lot. And again, like I said,
his phone falls out of his pocket while he's sliding.
That's hopefully that was nipped in the bud. That doesn't happen anymore. So I still wish they would have added one of the Cardinals outfielders or Harrison Bader. But I still like what they did. I'm not a big splash guy. I mean, go back and look at the teams who made a big splash over the last 5 or 10 years, and you let me know who won a World Series after it. To me, you just improve what you have with a couple of solid moves, and that's usually the formula to win. So, like I said, B+ for me.
Yeah, we talked about it on last week's show, and I mean, sure, you could pigeonhole because I'm sure there's examples the other way, but like in '08 with the Phillies, where they added Blanton as their only splash player, and you see how that worked out. So when the idea is if your team's you probably need to already be good enough to win a World Series with the team that you have. So if you're adding these big splash players, it's like you're probably missing some huge pieces, and it's tough to really find that in one
Yeah.
particular player. So that's why these non-big splash teams are the ones that tend to kind of do better because their teams are probably better to begin with.
Hmm.
Obviously, like a huge starting pitcher would help, but yeah, definitely positives. Chalky, your thoughts on it?
Yeah, I'd give it a B. There weren't a lot of big splash moves that ended up being made, so it's not as though they got outbid on a player for the most part. We talked about Scherzer last week. I didn't have any interest in him. He went. Uh, we didn't really talk about Verlander. I would have considered it depending on the cost. Now, Houston gave up their best prospect, so you would like looking at the rankings. You would have to give up Painter, Abel, or Crawford to be comparable. And I don't
But
know that I would
wasn't
have done
those?
that.
I mean, wasn't the prospects that Houston gave up, although it was their best prospect, weren't they not as high on the overall prospect list?
No,
No.
so he I think he was 60 overall to begin the year. I don't know if it was currently or in during this season that I looked at the rankings from MLB.com, but he was behind Painter and Abel on the Phillies list and ahead of Crawford from of the Phillies players. So
Gotcha.
if you were looking for comparable, it might have been one of those three. If New York was going to eat as much salary as they did, then I definitely would have thought about it because his cost is going to be very low. But I'm perfectly fine with them not making that move either. Cease would have been my guy, as I said, but he didn't move, and the asking price could have been astronomical if you had to make a choice. And yeah, I would have certainly rather seen a better outfield bat, whether that was Bader or one of the Cardinals' current outfielders. So it really seemed like that was going to happen, and I guess it was a little bit of disappointment that it didn't end up in the end. But look, Lorenzen, I mean, obviously off to a good start. When I was looking back through his stats, I was surprised. Like this is only his third year as like a full-time starter. He started off his career as a starter, then did a lot of bullpen work, and then the last 2 years. But he's had a really solid, at least 2.5 months plus, where I don't think he's given up more than 2 earned runs in any start since May, maybe. So he's pitching well. He was an all-star, and it gives him a little bit of flexibility, as we were kind of talking through text, to go to a 6-man rotation if you want to do that for a little bit, because Nola's on pace to set another career high in innings pitched, and he still hasn't gotten on track yet. Wheeler's been a little more consistent, and to what Jason said in our group, it's the thing about Lorenzen I would say is, do I feel comfortable with him being your second starter in a series? Not quite. I don't feel comfortable with anybody right now. I think Wheeler's sort of reestablishing himself as maybe your number one guy to start the series, but nobody else is really stepping into that void yet. So that would be that'd be my concern moving forward without making a bigger splash. But it doesn't always take the biggest splash. Now they didn't win that year, but probably the biggest trade deadline splash they made was the year after they got Blanton, which was Cliff Lee. And they probably don't get to the World Series without Cliff Lee because their rotation was a little bit of a disaster that year. This year, you could say it's better rotation, so you don't need to obviously make that kind of move, and there wasn't that younger player like Lee was out there. So we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, I was a little. I mean, overall, I'm happy, but I was a little disappointed with the not adding a bat to the outfield because at the end of the day, you're still going out there on certain days with the caves and whatever other slop they're putting out there. I mean, Rojas, whatever, is starting to look like maybe he can be okay for more than just a week, like we were saying. Defensively, he looks great. But I don't know about his bat, so a little disappointed
The
there.
problem with that though is like which outfielder move that you would want, like Tommy Pham.
Well,
Bader
agreed.
would have been the guy.
Yeah,
But
agreed.
Bader didn't move.
No, that got moved. You mean that got
Yeah,
moved?
that got moved.
Yeah.
Yeah, that actually
Yeah,
got moved.
just because a guy didn't get moved didn't mean he wouldn't have gotten moved if the offer wasn't. Maybe they were asking too much, right? I don't. That
Yeah,
I don't.
you
We
don't
don't
know
know
what they're
that.
asking.
There wasn't barely any outfielders moved
But
in this
Exactly.
entire
Well, yeah,
entire trade deadline.
Meeker has preached this for weeks now about, this third wild card is going to bring teams closer, and we talked about it, and maybe that is ultimately a lot like teams that, I mean, outside of the Guardians, who are only two back of the Central, and they sold, teams that are like 4, 5, 6 games out are making moves to improve their team. So maybe that's why. What's your thoughts, Meeker, overall?
No, I mean, me and Jason were talking about Lorenzen about 2 weeks ago over text, and we were just, kind of throwing out names of who they could have possibly acquire, and I'm fine with that. I think that's a good get for them. If you look at his last 5 or 6 starts, 4 out of his last 5 starts, he didn't give up a run. I don't know if you took a look at that. And today he was very good, and he gave him a lot of innings, and that's the type of guy he is. Like, we've been in obviously fantasy baseball for a pretty long time. He was in the National League for quite a while, and he always had a lot of promise. And the Reds never really gave him a shot to start. He was always in the bullpen, kind of a middle relief guy. But he's got a live arm. He's got a pretty good changeup, as I saw today. I like that. He pitches the contact, doesn't really strike out a lot of guys, so they're going to have to play good defense behind them. You ask, who is your three if you had to go a 3-game series, and I really think it's just going to be, beside Nolan Wheeler, it's just going to be whoever's hot at that time. Like whether it's Lorenzen, whether it's Ranger, whether it's Taiwan Walker, we'll see. But it does give him a lot of length in the bullpen, once they move one of these guys out. For the rest of the year, I think that inevitably someone could possibly get hurt, so that might make up your mind that who ends up being in the rotation. But I would go 6-man rotation and kind of limit some of the innings right now with Nolan Wheeler. As long as the sixth guy out there is pitching good, then throw him out there. I mean, Christopher Sanchez has been pitching really good. I wouldn't sit him. But they can't give him any more than like five. He can't give him any more like 5-6 innings at a time. So that's the
He's
odd
like
man
Jay
out
Happ to
probably.
me.
Yeah.
He's like a J Happ, Vance Worley type for me. Like I think he's pitching above his means right now.
He reminds me a little bit of Kenrick when he first came up. He could give you 6 and two or three to keep you in a game, but he's not going to go 9 innings with 2 hits.
I like the fact he's left-handed, though. It gives you a little bit of a different look in a 3-game series.
Those are the guys you need throughout a season because it's 162 games. You need those stretches where he's not going to be your guy in the playoffs. We know that. Like, once or like these September baseball rolls around, he's probably out of the rotation for what it's worth, unless you're playing a doubleheader. There's a reason, but he's eating up these July and August innings that you need. And if you can get wins with his starts, or play 500 a little bit, it's even a bigger bonus. And that's what he.
Yeah, you don't need a bullpen game anymore. Like that nonsense.
Right.
Because of what they've done with Harper playing first base and not looking for a first baseman or a corner guy, like moving Bohm to first and grabbing a third baseman, if Harper was able to play the outfield, I thought that Candelario would have been a great get if they would have gotten him. Cubs ended up grabbing him, but he's not an outfielder. But this whole situation with Harper not being able to throw has caused what we're seeing. And I told Jason the other day I would just like to have seen or gotten some sort of information of what the Yankees wanted for Bader, because I think that would have been the fit because he plays Gold Glove outfield. He's not a bad hitter. He's probably a guy who slot in the 7th, 8th hole, but it's a little disappointing they didn't get the bat, but I'm okay with it. I give him a solid B. I'm with Chalky on Dombrowski's grade for this trade.
So
trade
what
deadline.
was the reason for the really making big moves? Was it the Meekers that the teams are everybody's close together? Was the organization hamstringing Dombrowski and saying, look, you ain't mortgaging the future to try to add a few players now that are mediocre, like even just mediocre, not like unless you obviously go out and get a Arianda or somebody like that, but
Arenado.
Not for these mid-level guys. Are you giving up Abels and stuff? Or was Dombrowski putting pressure on the players now and saying, look, we have a roster that should be producing and they are not. And this is the pressure I'm putting on you guys to say, we ain't getting nobody. It's up to you to turn it around. Basically.
That's certainly part of it. But, there are teams like the Cubs who were sellers as of like 2 weeks ago who now scored like 30-something runs in the last 2 games. So,
Yep.
they're not selling anymore.
Padres didn't sell either. And
Right.
they all think they're contenders, and Padres ended up buying at the deadline.
Yankees, everybody talks about Bader. The Yankees didn't do anything, right?
Nothing.
The Yankees didn't trade anybody. So
Look,
I'm
some
sure that they
some
reached
of it
out.
is that these fringe teams who are probably not going to make the playoffs, but will still sell tickets. And when you wave the white flag and start selling your guys, the fans know that, and they're going to stop going to these games, right?
Yeah,
So,
it's that.
so
and
these
it's
organizations
also,
don't care necessarily if they make the playoffs, but they care that we can't give the perception like we're not trying to make the playoffs to keep it
well,
going.
you could also blame the Phillies last year because they went to the World Series and winning 87 games.
All right. Well, that actually, I had a
Yeah.
question around that, and we could jump to that. So,
Well, just one last thing,
Go
because
ahead.
you mentioned as a possibility. So I don't think it was management's call not to make a big splash. I think Middleton is pretty much took the cuffs off. Everything
Yeah.
about this year after last year is he wants his effing trophy back. So I don't. Now, would he have allowed him to trade Painter, Abel, and Crawford for, Stroman? Probably not. No, and Stroman actually went on the DL anyway.
Yeah, thank
He was
God
the
they
guy we're
didn't.
looking at. So I don't think he was going to put a halt to anything unless it was extremely outrageous cost on the Philly side. So I think it was the other things you mentioned.
Well, another thing that Jason and I were talking about yesterday after they got, or whatever, 2 days ago. Lorenzen's still young, and he's don't have a lot of mileage on his arm because he's only been a starter for 2 years.
He's about to hit his innings record because he hasn't been a starter. Like
Yeah.
he's
Yeah.
almost there now.
But he's a fitness freak. I don't know if you know a lot about him, but he's like
Oh,
big
yeah.
into the stretching and all this different stuff that he does. He could be a guy that you can sign for a couple years if he has some success
100%.
here, and that could be not a replacement for Nola if they decide not to sign Nola, but another piece in the rotation where you're not really losing a whole lot if you lose Nola. And I
No
think that's
question.
important because maybe some other than Cease, who would have been everyone's, dream, there wasn't a whole lot of other guys out there like that, so
They'll absolutely sign Lorenzen, no question. They wanted him last year. They
Yeah.
wanted to sign him. So
all right.
that.
So let's discuss. So we were saying that the Phillies were, we wanted them to go 10-4 in this stretch, and so far they're 4-3. So we were saying before the podcast, obviously they can only lose one more game. They have the Royals and the Nationals, so it's possible. But this Phillies team, they have a lot of flaws, right? Their defense is subpar at times. They don't have really timely hitting. Their power numbers are down. Yet we continue to give them the benefit of the doubt. We continue to believe. Does what happened last year cloud our judgment a little bit to this year? If they don't go on that run last year and they're in the season they're having now. Now they've turned around. They're 10 games above. But they struggle for big parts. A lot of their big hitters aren't hitting at times. Would we be doing this podcast and have a completely different tone if they didn't last year they didn't go on the run? Because now we're in the mindset like, let's get to the playoffs. We know what could happen. Do you think that we are a little clouded, Jason, from what happened last year?
I don't. I legitimately think that this team, you look at this lineup, and there's no reason whatsoever why this lineup should not hit. Like, you can't. Maybe you have an out in the spot that Hoskins used to be in. Whichever spot that winds up being, first base or left field. Maybe, all right? But other than that, like, you got guys that are just underachieving right now. Real Muto had a nice game today, but he has not been good offensively this year.
Right.
Right.
But we know that, but would we be more up in arms about, or more the sky has fallen this season if last season, we know their guys are underperforming, but we're giving benefit of the doubt, not letting them off the hook, but giving the benefit of the doubt, like they could turn this around. This guy could do this. This guy could do that.
Well, I think a lot of the guys started slow last year and came on. So, yeah, I mean, a little bit. Like, Real Muto, look at his stats last year.
It was like July. It was like mid-July when he turned it.
When you
turned it
start
around.
getting hot, right? And then, Schwarber, everybody knows he starts out slow. Castellanos, all those guys. So, for me, yeah, I still think that this lineup's going to hit eventually.
Yeah, how about you, Chalky?
I mean, for me, definitely that. I mean, we saw it play out, and to me, especially with the way their record's gone, it's been a lot of similarities to last year. Um, and trade deadline, they don't make a huge splash, but they make a couple moves to solidify some spots. And because this, we know what they can do when everybody gets rolling together. They ran to Game 6 of the World Series this year. If they didn't make the playoffs last year, it would have been another year after having spent whatever and brought in big name free agents and having brought in Turner, assuming they still do that, and they still haven't made the playoffs since 2011 is the discussion we're having. So we saw them get past that. We know they can do it, and so yeah, it seems likely that it could play out this. There's more confidence it plays out this way because we just saw almost the exact thing happen last year as far as getting to the playoffs. Do I think they're going to knock Atlanta out in 4 games again and pretty much dominate them? I'm not there yet for sure, but the fact that it happened last year absolutely gives me more confidence now to be less harsh on the way they're playing with the expectation of them getting to the playoffs.
For you, Meeker?
I think they're a better. How do I put this? I mean, they're a better lineup now than they were last year. But of course, Hoskins not being on the team does make a difference in what I'm talking about. Castellanos is having a better year. Alec Bohm is having a better year. Stott's having a really good year. Obviously, they because of the Harper thing and the outfield situation, it does complicate things because you have to put like a Pache or a Rojas out in the outfield right now for defensive purposes, and that's a spot that's a problem. And we hope that they would have fixed it. They didn't fix it, but if you look up and down the lineup, maybe JT, is not having as good a year as he did last year. But it all comes back to what we've been talking about for weeks. Trey Turner has to be Trey Turner. If he starts to hit at some point this year, now we're in August, the lineup is deadly, to be honest with you, but he's just not been the guy we thought he was, and I think it makes the lineup look a little worse, to be honest. I think it's squarely on him right now. I mean, I know Schwarber's hitting 180 something. I don't expect the guy to hit 250 even, but he does have 26, 27 home runs. I don't like him leading off.
And he has about 80 walks.
Yeah, I don't like him leading off, but he does walk, and that's the reason why he is leading off. But Turner should be the guy leading off. I mean, that's who we thought he was going to be, right? They're flopping him around all over the lineup now because Thompson's trying to give him, spark him in some way. But he just has to be better. And he has to be better defensively, too. I think the pitching can carry them through the first series of a wild card series. If they get good starts, they'll win the first wild card series. I worry about whoever they face in the second series, in the longer series, if that lineup is subpar.
Yeah, so after last week's, we kind of ripped into Turner, and we obviously watched the games, and I was committed to not turn the podcast into let's go after Trey Turner. We can't every week do the same thing. And then I watched him play the last few games, specifically last night, which he caused the loss, and another terrible game today. So I can't avoid talking about how awful Trey Turner is. You just can't avoid it. Jason, I mean, with Turner, I mean, at this point, what do you do?
Yeah, I mean, I'm baffled. It's mental. I mean, we know how good this guy is. It's totally
the guy looked
mental.
like he was going to cry last night. I mean, in the locker
room, you could see it in his face. He's totally lost at the plate. I was saying going into today, he needs to start jumping on the first pitch because to me, he's going up there and he's taking a cookie for the first pitch down the middle. He's not swinging. Oh, he's 0-1 now. Now the second pitch, he's swinging at something at his ankles. Now he's 0-2 again. Where he's fouling it off and he's 0-2. He's just he's lost at the plate. Now today, he goes up with the mentality to swing, and he's it's almost like he knows what he wants to do before he sees the pitch because now he's swinging at balls that are at his eyes, and he's 0-1 again, and he still winds up being 0-2. He's just he's lost and. He's lost, and I have a theory here, and I know it's not going to happen, but I would love to see, Meeker always talks about the Philadelphia sports band being sophisticated and all. I don't see it, but, If they are, okay, tomorrow night, this guy comes up to the plate, give him a standing ovation.
Well, yeah.
We got your back, Trey. You know what I mean? We got your back. We know you're going
I
to
mean,
come
they
out of
tried
this.
to boo him. I know how you want to boo him, and I'm usually a booer.
I wanted to boo him last night,
but
laying in bed
it
watching
isn't going
the
to
game.
help.
What good is booing going to do to this
and
guy?
it happened with Bohm when they gave Bohm a standing ovation. It was a little bit different.
You boo guys who aren't trying. This guy's trying too hard. So now you give him like a confidence, like because guess what? The alternative to this guy not turning it around, is not good. Like Meeker said, for this team. Like if he doesn't turn it around,
he
forget
has cost them, and I don't even just mean defensively, offensively as a whole. He's cost them 6-7 games. I mean, he's cost them games.
I mean, think about it. Like Turner, I think Turner was number one on all of our lists as far as like a free agent to get.
Sure.
What level? Whatever you thought you were going to get out of him at 100%. What level do you think we've gotten? 50%? 10%?
10%.
All right. So let's say you got 40%, which is still not half of what you expected, but it's 3-4 times what is. They got 3 or 4 more wins.
10% would actually help them. I think it's negative percent.
I mean, that's the thing. Like, they would be 3 games up on everybody in the wild card race if he was half as good as we thought he would. No, I mean, look, I get to watch the game today, but they dropped him to what, 8th in the lineup, or did he pinch hit?
He hit 8th.
So they're moving him up and down. They're moving him down now. See what happens. I don't know.
I mean, 2 balls hard today.
And that doesn't. I mean, it helps a little bit, but moving in the lineup. The situation is going to find him. He's going to come up with guys on base in a key situation.
Yeah.
It's not going to matter where he's batting. Maybe it takes the pressure off.
No, and I think so. I think his heart. He's got some. You said he hit some hard hit balls today, and I thought I saw that like some of his hard. He's had some hard hit outs that statistically would have been normally hit. So his point, he should be a couple points better on the batting average, but it's still not getting you up to. I mean, the strikeouts, the not making contact and moving guys on base or whatever, like. That's the kind of stuff that he's not even doing that right.
And his fielding is unbelievably bad.
He's rolling over on everything.
Yeah,
like,
it's a ground ball.
Other way with the pitch that's outside. Don't try to pull it. You're going to roll it over.
And if he doesn't hit it, he's 10 feet away from it. He's pulling off of it so bad. He
doesn't go the other way. I can't believe he does not go the other way.
What I think he needs is a moment. He needs a big spot in a big game. He needs to come through in that spot. But no, to change the confidence, I understand he's had these spots. I'm saying he needs that moment where he delivers. If he delivers in a big spot, maybe to win a game, like a walk-off of some sort, I think that'll change it. What you were saying, Tommy, is exactly true. Like, he is up there. I don't know if it was you or Jason said it. Who's made up his mind before the pitch is even thrown that he's going to swing. Mm-hmm. And that, if you've ever played baseball before and you're in a slump, that's exactly what happens when you're in a slump. You're trying to say, okay, well, whatever the next pitch is and wherever it's at, I'm going to swing at it. And you're guessing. You're not reacting to the pitch anymore. Doesn't matter if it's a breaking ball, changeup, fastball. You're just going up there saying, I'm going to hack, because you're trying to swing your way out of a slump.
Well, and Cassiano said that the other night after he had the home run to win it. And they asked him the same thing because he's been slumping. And he said, when I'm in a slump, it just keeps building because I try to hit out of a slump, opposed to, like you're saying, is you still should have the same wait for your pitch, approach it the same way. You're not going to hit out of a slump if the pitch isn't where it should be.
It's a mental game, and that's what baseball players do, and it gets them deeper and deeper into slumps, and
they know it,
good
and
comment.
They can't get out of it. Which is even crazier.
And he has to know. He has to know that all the eyes are on him with the contract that he got and the way he's been playing defense.
100%.
Yeah,
and there's an article like he's not like a mentally soft guy. Like he's not cocky, but he's got a lot of confidence, and so like this is the first time in his career it seems like he struggled with the mental aspect of the game and everything that's gone to the big contract, and being really the one underperforming consistently throughout the whole season player in this lineup of heavily paid guys. I mean, it's starting to get to him. It's gotten to him. It's
now,
not like it's coming.
Would you consider moving Stott to shortstop
and benching him?
No, I'm moving him to play second.
Nah, I don't.
Just hiding him a
don't
little
think
bit off a
I
shortstop.
don't. Has he played a lot of second? I
Yeah,
think if he played
I
enough.
has.
think up more.
He's played some.
I mean,
I don't know.
you
I
could
mean,
play you could play second if you could play short. You could play second.
I mean, to me, I think you could have. Then, if you're going to do that, you could have left Stott at shortstop to begin the year.
Well,
To me,
you didn't know he was. I mean, the guy can't catch. I like forget it. He can't catch no more.
He's not a strong defensive shortstop.
He can't
don't think
catch.
He ever was.
I mean, he's terrible.
Yeah.
That play
Yeah.
last night was terrible.
I mean, it's I didn't have the sound on, so I was looking at the closed captions, and I guess it was Amaro was ripping on me. He's like, you can't let
knock
that
it
get
down.
out of the infield.
Of
No matter what you
course.
do, you got to throw your
If he
body
knocks
in
it
front
down,
of
they
the
win
ball,
the
and
game.
it just went, bing. And before
The
it was
ball
even
was
into the
hit-
outfield, you could see the look on his face. He's like, "What?
The
what
ball's
just
hit hard
happened?"
enough to where even if he knocks it down, he could still make the play at first and get him out.
Now,
That guy
Yeah,
out.
throw
if
throw
you
your
watch
chest
it
in front of
again,
it.
The ball took a bad hop. It did. I'm not making
Yeah,
excuses
but he
for him,
wasn't
'cause
in
you still
front
got
of
to
it.
knock it
He
down.
wasn't in front of it to begin with. He laid
You
it.
got to knock it down, but it
He-
took a bad hop on him. But you have to be in front of it. You have to. Keep
But
it in the
if you're
infield.
confident that's a ball right, you're on top of, and even if you don't catch it, the ball's stopping in front of you. When you're playing like he is, you're olaying it, and I mean he missed it by about 15 feet.
It was not good.
So
Yeah.
I mean I don't know. I don't know. But
I would say if you weren't compromising left field and putting Schwarber back in left field, you could DH him for a couple days just to get his
I
mind
thought
off of
about
playing the
that.
field.
I thought about that.
yeah, but not playing Schwarber in the outfield has already won
Yeah.
games for them. I mean you see,
He's just-
it's,
yeah.
Yeah, that's
it's like wins game. It's a difference in games. Him not playing
is.
versus playing.
Yeah, you can't put him in the field.
So what's going on with what was the deal with Kimbrel last night and Topper? What was that about, Jason?
Yeah, I actually one of the things they asked Turner about after the game was where they was Kimbrel tipping pitches, and he said that he was like the Dodgers pitching coach or the Dodgers hitting coach was the hitting coach. Let me get this straight. The Marlins hitting coach was also the Dodgers hitting coach with Kimbrel last year. When Kimbrel was with the Dodgers, so they know. So they had something on him. So I think, and I don't care what Thompson says, he can't come out and say it. I think he wanted to avoid pitching Kimbrel against the Marlins at all costs until he straightens out this whatever he's tipping, because they were on top of him, and that's why he balked. And Meeker, I know you said you didn't watch the game last night, but did you hear about him balking?
I heard about it. Yeah.
He just dropped the
Okay,
ball and then
so
told the guy
He just
go to
dropped the
third.
ball, and then he said, "You go to third base." Like,
That's
he
a
knew
ball.
that
Go
they
to
were.
third. Yeah, I mean Topper's explanation made no sense. First of all, you didn't play him the night before, so he's right.
And he also said that he thinks that they were reading all of the relievers' pitches, which they weren't. It was just Kimbrel's.
yeah,
Like he
it was-
said.
nobody else,
he was
because
like-
when
he
Kimbrel's on the
blamed the
mound, the
Soto
guy's
home run
touching
on
his
that.
base and head and stuff. They weren't doing
Yeah.
that for the other pitchers as
But
well.
he blamed the Soto home run on that too. And I'm like, come on, that's
No, I was
Soto
the
just
fastball
So,
down the
did
plate.
he not? So Dominguez closed Tuesday and today. Did they not want to pitch him 2 days in a row coming off of the injury? Because or else, why else would he not have gotten on the mound last night?
Dominguez. They did not want to pitch 2 days in a row.
2 days in a row. Okay, I thought maybe that was it, but then when they went back to him today,
And that's why the Kimbrel thing makes no sense, because you said you didn't pitch him the night before, that you're trying to rest him because he's been pitching more innings. You don't pitch him in the save, but then you put him in the next inning. So like, how does that? I mean, if
Yeah,
you
I
truly
think
were
he
rescuing him, you wouldn't put him in the
Yeah.
next inning. I mean, come
Yeah.
on.
you go to Covey, I guess, but
Yeah,
Yeah, he
I'm
was
not saying
trying
your
to get-
options were any good, but
yeah, no.
He was
I
trying
mean,
to-
go ahead, Jason.
I was just going to say he was trying to have Soto just close the game out, and if he didn't, then he was like, "All right."
and I think what happened was now they were up 2 runs, and
You could give
went
up the
in,
run.
and knowing
Yeah.
right, that guy on second means nothing. Maybe they didn't say let the ball
Yeah.
up, but basically that run don't mean anything. So, and it was cracked. I mean, he had 1 out and nobody on. Now he's in a safe situation with 1
But
out.
Kimbrel's got
nobody
to
on.
fix that like ASAP, because now
Anybody that
everybody's
watches
gonna
that
know
tape,
what's
yeah,
going on.
anybody
Yeah.
at second base, the way his position of his glove was, that's how they knew what pitch he's throwing. So it's just, I guess Topper's last night I wanted to strangle him, but I guess he was a little hamstrung as well. So I don't know how
Yeah.
much you can blame him as
Yeah.
much. I
Totally.
mean, there's other things you can blame him for.
Yeah, and I'm not for that, but I mean, the confidence that we may have had him at this time. Maybe that's probably the one difference I was talking about this year to last year is he seemed like he was pushing all the right buttons and making the right moves last year, and questioning almost on a daily basis one or two things he's doing or the way he's handling the relievers and whatnot. Yeah, so I guess
their bullpen's
the honeymoon's over, at least.
Yeah, some of the there was another play. Was it? What was it? We were saying he should have bunted. I can't remember last night. Was it he should have had the guy bunt or something? And he didn't bunt, and I can't. Or no, wasn't intentionally walk somebody. They should have walked somebody.
Yeah.
Right?
Put a guy on. Yeah,
put a guy on, and of course it blew up in their face, and a run was scored. It might have been one of the extra innings or the ninth.
It was extra innings.
Yeah, so it's like, but again, they're probably decisions he made last year as well, except the player got out of it or pitched out of it, and you give him the credit. And this year, it's just not happening. So
yeah.
But all in all, they have their next their next 26 games, 19 of them are home. So they have a huge advantage in August to be home. Their next 6 games are against the Royals and the Nationals. So, we said to be successful, they should be 10-4. So in those next 6 games, they got to go 5-1. We said they should sweep the Royals, so they should go 5-1. So, losing to Pittsburgh was not great, but taking 3 out of 4 from Miami helped, and they're in the same spot that we kind of said they should have been after this little run against bad teams. So, just to end this segment and move on to the races, what's your confidence? I know we spoke a little bit, but how are you still feeling about the Phillies in general? Do you see them pulling ahead at any point, or do you think last game of the year they're still fighting for one of the wild cards, Jason?
Well, I think, like you said, this is the time for them to pull ahead. If they do what they should do, they should comfortably be in a wild card spot going into September, right? And then hopefully you get the first wild card spot. You get home field advantage in the first series. And then, take it from there. But, yeah, I think they'll pull ahead.
Yeah, how about you, Chalky? This run, and where do you see them at the end?
I would expect them to be comfortably in the wild card spot, at least by the middle of September. That way you're not sweating out. You're not going to have a clinch, but you won't sweat the last 2 weeks of the season or so. And you still have 3 more against both Milwaukee and San Francisco. So those are your 2, the other 2 wild card teams right now that are in. So you can get yourself a little separation, and you have 3 against Miami. So, you win those games or you do well there. There's no reason to me at this point why they shouldn't be the top wild card team. And so, yeah.
Got it.
Yeah, back to the trade deadline stuff. The teams that are right in the mix with them, none of them really added anyone really significant. Some teams improved a little bit, but like the Giants, they're a team that's right with them. They got AJ Pollock. Their lineup stinks. They're a better team than the Giants. So Arizona, they added a closer, but they also gave up their closer, which is strange, but that's what they did. The Reds did nothing. The Dodgers added a couple pieces, and the Marlins actually added a few pieces, but we just beat them 3 out of 4. I actually thought today was almost like I don't want to call it a must-win game, but I thought, based on what we talked about last week, they needed to go 10-4 in these 14 games. This was a game they needed to have to pull a couple games ahead of Miami. I said it last podcast, they are a better team than all of these teams that we're talking about right now. They should be the first wild card. And I think, we'll be talking about this obviously for the next 2 months until the season's over, but I think that every week, if you gain a game on these teams, I think by the end of the season, we'll be looking at the first wild card. That's my prediction. We'll see what happens.
Okay. Anybody want to add anything before we wrap this up and move on to Saratoga? Or are we going to say goodbye to Meeker?
All right, guys. Have a good night.
All right, Meeker. Thank you. And we will move on to Saratoga. So, like we said, we're not going to necessarily cover a specific sequence of races as far as like a pick 4, pick 5, which we've usually kind of try to do. Although there is a pick 4 in the sequence we're going to talk about, but we're going to go beyond that when we finish with the Whitney, which is the big race for Saturday. But let's jump right into it. So we're looking at about a 3:17 Eastern Standard Time for when these stakes races kick off. And we are on the turf to start it. It's a grade 3. It's the Troy. They're going 5.5. It's a nice little turf sprint to kick off the show. We have a standout horse that is a 3-5 morning line. Jason, is that who you're going with?
I am going with the standout horse, the 4 Caravel. I think that she could even sit off if she has to, and she's just better than these horses, and I'm not going to use any other horse but Caravel.
Chalky, top pick for you?
It's not the only horse I'll use, but top pick is Caravel. She's run good races, for however last 3-4 beating the boys, and I'm not going to try to beat her on top as a main play.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to go my top pick, Caravel as well. To Jason's point, there is a good amount of speed, but she does not necessarily have to be the speed. She can sit right off. She can go to the lead depending on how she breaks, and others break as well. He, I guess? No, she. She's a she. Okay. How she breaks. So I will go Caravel as my top pick. There was another horse that interests me, and as we get closer, I'll decide if how I'll ultimately go. But Jason, you said Caravel was your only horse, so we can go to
I'm
Chalky.
not using anyone else.
Chalky, you did say you had somebody else or a few in mind.
Yeah,
so.
the other horse that interests me a little bit was a 3 Cogburn. Asmussen switched him to the turf 2 races ago. He's won both races. Running style changed from being a third horse in the lead to coming from behind in these turf sprints. If the pace were to get hot up front, he looks like a horse that can still improve on turf. So he might be coming late and maybe gets there if there's a complete meltdown. So that's the one I'd mess around with.
Yeah, my only concern there is Cogburn has run numbers. If his turf numbers, he does have dirt numbers that can match those turf numbers. However, anytime he's been thrown into more of a test of a race, he's not performed as well. I guess the Chick Lang was his best, but he was favored in that race. So yes, he has won both races on the turf. They were at Lone Star, and they're kind of crappy.
It's got to be a big step forward. But.
Yeah, I would. Yeah, the only other horse that interested me a little bit was the 8. Jason, who's the jockey on the 8 for me? I'm having trouble.
That would be Pratt.
That would be Pratt. That would be Pratt. Pratt on the turf. His 2 turf races. One was a 2-turn race at Tampa. He won. The other was at Laurel. So he's got 2 wins on the turf. He ran a big number his last out. Pratt, saw enough to take the mount, although I'm not sure if he had other choices. So he wanted a horse in the mount. So again, I don't, at the end of the day, Caravel seems to be a standout, but that's a horse I would definitely mess around with a little bit underneath. And
I did find it interesting that Irad wasn't on any horses in this race.
Yeah,
I don't know if that tells you anything or
yeah,
not. Like
he might not want to waste his time because Caravel. Yeah, I would agree. That's definitely a possibility. And he's not been the regular rider, I don't think, on any of these horses.
No.
So
but
he
still,
probably
you would think somebody would throw him on one of the horses,
Yeah, but to your point, maybe he didn't even feel like he might have figured, it's a bunch of stakes races. Let me take a race off, and these turf sprints are clusters, and who knows? Maybe he just didn't want to risk anything. So, good point there, Jason. Good point. All right, move to race 7, mile and 16th, the Lure, which is restricted for horses that have not won a graded sweepstakes in 2023. So decent horses, but ones that have not won the graded races. They usually are won by, there's one particular trainer or 2 that do well in these types of races. Chalky, where were you going on this race?
So this is probably my first crazy opinion. I'm going with a long shot here. Top pick was going to be the 8 Dr. Davis, and it's a pace scenario play here. He might be the only horse in the lead. He might have another one right there with him, but the mile and the 16th distance seems to fit. It's a huge jump up in class. He's coming from optional claimers at Pimlico and Laurel, but Delacour is a decent trainer. Lynch does not really ride up here, hasn't ridden yet up here, but to me, there's a couple horses you could play here if you're doing a multi, and I wanted to, if I'm going to take a bunch of horses. Let me put a longer shot, I should say, on top. And I thought the race shape might go in his favor. So I went with the 8, Dr. Davis.
I think Chevy Chase said it. If I woke up with my face sewn to the rug, I wouldn't be as surprised as I would be if Dr. Davis won the race. Jason, would you like to add? I thought about that on the cuff. That was actually pretty
That's a
clever.
good one,
Yeah.
yeah.
Jason, would you like to add?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think it's a tough race as well, and I do not see a lot of speed here. But I felt the 9 midday image was the one that was going to get the lead because Jose's he gets aggressive, and I think he'll see that there's not a ton of speed in the race. But I'm not going to pick him to win, even though I'll probably use him. But my top pick, I'm going to go with the 5, Speaking Scout for Motion. For me, it's a class play here, and I know it's Pratt, so you guys could say what you want, but it's a class play for me. Like for me, he's the horse coming out of the best races. I just think that again, I'm just going to go with class here, and I'm just going to.
I mean, that's the type of horse that you look for in a non-graded sweepstakes restrictor race, is the ones that have been competitive in graded races but haven't won.
Yeah.
Obviously, this is a class relief for them.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'll give you my top pick. We'll come back around. I mean, for me, it was like I said. When you look at these races, these are the races that Brown wins, that Pletcher wins. And Brown to me has the one portfolio company who's been competitive in graded races a little bit, definitely above his head. But one thing to point out: look at every race that Rosario has taken the mount on this horse, outside of the American Turf, which was at that funky Churchill kind of surface. He's got second, first, second, first. So Rosario just fits this horse on the inner. The rail is where you want to be. Rosario is a horse that loves to keep horses tucked inside. So this horse is a standout if he sits on the rail and he gets the opening of a trip, and he's tactical. So I don't see why he won't. So I was one portfolio company was the horse that was a standout for me. Chalky, did you want to go back through it with other potential players outside of your top pick?
Yeah, I mean, I'll just give you a couple numbers because I said I would look to spread here. So 1 is obvious, 1, 2, and 3. Dakota Gold, the 3, 1 is state bred stakes, so that still qualifies him for this race.
Chalky, Dakota Gold, do you anything with that horse stand out?
Irad.
Nope.
And
look at the breeder.
Did we hit a
look
breeder?
At the breeder.
Sequel Thoroughbreds and Ron Bowden.
Remember who Ron Bowden is?
I don't.
Sat behind us at the Breeders' Cup. That was the guy that we talked to all the time at the Breeders' Cup. Dakota Gold was the horse that he mentioned.
Well, that's my guy. I gotta take Dakota Gold. Then
at the Breeders' Cup in Lexington, he sat. Real nice guy. Ron Bowden. We didn't know if he was BSing, and I looked him up.
Yeah, because he talked about.
I said, "Chalky, this is a real guy."
Yeah, because that's right. Because he won the Stallion Stakes race last year at Saratoga.
And he was
so
saying about Dakota Gold, and he had other horses as well. So.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. So I also thought 4 Ocean Atlantique for Maker and Jason's 5. So I could easily go 6 deep and watch the favorite win in this race, but I might go up to 6 on a multi.
All right, Jason.
I'm only going to go 4 deep. Obviously, my 5. I am going to use the 9 in case he just gets out and, like they choke like they usually do and choke the horses in turf races in New York. You're 1 for sure. And the Dakota Gold with Irad. Not using the 2. I'm going to take a shot against that 2.
Yeah, I would just go 1. I mean, I would love to not use the 3, but I mean, it is Irad. It is. Irad. Yeah, I mean, you have to. And then Jason's horse, the 5, speaking. I think one of those 3 ultimately gets the job done. I do like the 1 quite a bit, but I think one of those 3 ultimately will get the job done. All right, let's move on to race 8. Which is a 7 furlong grade 1, the test, which actually came up as a pretty decent race here. Another race that does start a late pick 5. However, it ends with some allowance races, hence why we didn't cover the late pick 5. But this is a good race. You're getting the Oaks winner is coming back, cutting back in this race. You got a couple horses cutting back. You have a couple speed. You have a story in the 8, which I think Jimmy D talked about that horse at one point. I think we mentioned on the pod. So it came up good. So, Jason, we'll move to you. I believe first this time. What's your thoughts? Your top pick?
Yeah, like you said, great race. You look at the race, and obviously 8 Maple Leaf Mel is going to be the speed, but there's some other speed apparently in the race with the 7. Money's gold, but I read with speed is weird sometimes. I don't know if I trust him to kind of to go with the 8. I'm thinking he might try to sit off or do something crazy. And the 8, if you don't pressure that 8, she's going to win. She'll be my top choice, the 8 Maple Leaf Mel. But if Money's Gold does pressure Maple Leaf Mel and they go at it, I actually like the 6. Well, I guess I'm only supposed to give
Oh
my
yeah,
top pick
your
right
top
now.
pick. Top pick.
My top pick will be Maple Leaf Mel for now, but I'll use another horse.
All right, Chalky.
I mean, my top pick is going to be the 6 for what Jason was starting to get into, is that I want to expect the 7 and the 8 to kind of go at it, and the 6 will get first run on them. Her recent one-turn races have been good races, and this is cutting back to 7 panels after she just missed in the Acorn at a mile and a 16th one turn at Belmont, so a little bit shorter. I'll take her on top at 6-1.
Yeah. So I mean, my top pick, I'm going to go with the chalk here as the one pretty mischievous. However, it's not a top pick where she's a complete standout single, anything like that. Just, the horse was already a solid racehorse, added blinkers and improved, continuously improving. Walsh, I know Jason, at least maybe not through the pod, but we talked privately, that Walsh is has only been sending live mounts. Obviously, this is a great one, but he's got the horses in form right now. He's been firing in any race that he's been competing in. The horse is already the best horse. Gaffleone's riding pretty well this meet. So the rail, he has to work out a little bit of a trip. But with that speed, that Chalky and Jason both talked about, he is going to get the trip that you kind of want. Where at Saratoga, he's not going to be crazy far behind, but he's not going to be on. I do think the 2 has the potential to also be just cheap speed in the race. So even if Irad doesn't blaze, maybe the 2 could still pressure Maple Leaf Mel. So I think ultimately there is going to be speed in this race, and I'll go with the 1. And I preface this again because it's happened to us on every pod. We give these picks with the idea that it's a fast track, it's a good turf, a firm turf. The paces are set up because all the horses are running. If you get horses that scratch, you get the Money's Gold that scratches. Maple Leaf Mel becomes a much bigger play than if that horse isn't. So, keep that in mind as we go through these, that, you got to look at who doesn't actually compete, who was scheduled to, and it definitely changes dynamics. Jason, you were going to go into another pick, so go for it.
Yeah, my other pick would be Chalky's horse, Darth Vader. I think she's going to sit. She's not going to be far back, and she'll sit off. And if those 2, the 7 and the 8, go at it up front, like, she should go by. I'm against the 1 just because it's Saratoga. I'm against horses that are not going to be close to the pace. I don't know. I've just seen too much of speed winning in these last couple of weeks, for me to use a horse that's going to be pretty far back. So 8-6. I will throw underneath. I'll obviously use the 1 underneath, but the 4. If you look at Thorograph, she's coming off pairing 4s, so she should make a move. She could make a move up in this race and kind of hit the board at least.
Yeah,
so.
that's the same though. That Ellis track was such a speed biased track that the horse winning by 9.5 is kind of an anomaly of the track.
I just
itself.
like her Thorograph numbers. That's what put me on her to at least get the board. So, but 8-6 would be my only 2 to win.
Chalky.
The 1 is the only other one, and that's just slightly below Darth Vader is my top choice. Grade 1 winner at 2 turns, grade 1 winner at 1 turn. This is cutting back to less than a mile, and speed, not having the upfront speed is a disadvantage at Saratoga, but she's a very, very good horse, so she could probably classy enough to overcome it.
Yeah, I mean, she's 3 for 3 going 1 turn as well, so the cutback should only benefit her. My other pick, I guess 2 picks, because I wouldn't exclude and I'll just say it's not. I like this other one better, but the 8 just because of the reasons, Jason. It is Saratoga. It is speed. We see speed on paper and horses don't go. This horse has a great story. Everybody's going to be rooting. So
Yep.
always want to be mindful of that. And Rosario on the lead, when he gets the lead, he makes things happen. But my other pick was the 6th, Darth Vader. Almost made it a top pick, but ultimately went with the class in the in the 1. Although Darth Vader did win the Florida Oaks at a huge number, but for the same reason the boys already said, the pace set up and the horse fires every time, gives you an honest effort. Sometimes that's all you can ask for at races like this. So the 6th, Darth Vader. All right, we're gonna go mile and 3/16, the Saratoga Derby. I feel like this race just doesn't look the same without Henley's Joy. Isn't this a race that Henley's Joy or that ran in like almost every year? The mile and 3/16 race at Saratoga Turf. I think it was Henley's Joy.
Well, considering it's a 3-year-old race, you can only have one on at once.
So there must be a different like mile and 3/16 race that that horse is running. I can't. It might not have been Henley's Joy either. I can't. It was the Albertani horse.
Yeah, I know who you're talking about. I can't think of it. He won on Travers Day, the Sword Dancer, the year we were there. I can't think of his name.
Yeah, I can't think of the name, but he definitely runs.
I'll find it. I'll figure it out before we're done.
These marathon races. And he was a Saratoga specialist because isn't the Saratoga marathon races a little bit weird of a configuration? Isn't there one that's like
there's 3 turns. Yeah, if you go a mile and 3/8 or longer, it's 3 turns.
Right. So,
Sadler's Joy.
Yeah, that's it. Sadler's Joy. That's it. That's the one. So close with Henley's Joy.
Yeah.
All right. I think we're on Chalky. Where were you going with this particular race? It's a mile and 3/16 Saratoga Derby Grade 1.
Well, I don't think you've gone first, but that's all right.
No, I realized the host should never go first.
Yeah, exactly.
I made that decision last week.
So, I think this is another one that's kind of open. I don't have a strong opinion, so I went to the chalk, Farbridge, on this one. Got beat by a nose by Web Slinger at Churchill, came back and really should have won the Pennine Ridge at Belmont, ran into some trouble, and then came back, took the Belmont Derby last out. So it's a good horse. I do worry about the pace a little bit since he'll be coming from a little bit far back, but in a race where I don't have a strong opinion, it's almost defaulting to that because he did have a good race last time out.
Chalky? Jason?
Yeah, I do not see a lot of speed at all in this race, and for that reason, I've seen, again, too many horses just go to the lead and win at Saratoga, whether it be on turf or dirt. I'm going to go with the 1, Mondego, with Rosario. Obviously, I'm hoping Rosario has a good day on Saturday, but like Tommy said, Rosario gets the lead, and he's really strong on the lead. So he's got a good post in a distance race, a turf 2-turn race at Saratoga. So that will be my top pick, the 1.
Yeah, so for me, what's funny is if you actually look at some of the speed figures, the early pace figures, the 2 is faster early than the 1. And for the same reason you guys said, there does not look to be speed in this race. And I will say with Farbridge, who I was on the race that he just won, he sat inside the whole way. He tipped out right on the turn and went into 2-path. It couldn't have been a better trip for the 2. So for that, I downgrade the 5 Farbridge a little bit, especially at the price he's probably going to be and the what he's going to have to make up in the pace not being strong. So I went with the 2. I went back to Brown. I went back to Pratt. It's a big step up, but I don't necessarily see a ton of, outside of, I guess, Farbridge and Web Slinger. I'm not really seeing graded horses in this race. So although it's a grade 1, you don't have to be a killer to win this race. We've seen Brown move these horses up to grade 1s and win. The horses just demolished the field in the 2 starts, one at Monmouth, one at Belmont. Lope de Vega has a stamina in the pedigree. He's out of all kind of, foreign bred horses. So there should be stamina. Obviously the furthest test for this horse. But the one I'm going with, and I think he could actually be on the lead or will be sitting right off of the 1. and just has a better late kick. So I'll go with the 2 program trading for Chad Brown. Chalky, were you going in any other directions?
I mean, I did like the 1, and the 2. I don't have. I wasn't you listening to you. You could probably talk me into it using it for sure. But Jason's 1, and I was thinking about the 3. No, that's the Philly that is also cross-centered on Friday. It sounds like she is going to scratch out of Friday's Belmont Oaks to run, or I'm sorry, Saratoga Oaks to run here, because the trainer thinks that this race is a softer spot. The question with that is he running just for a grade 1 placing? Now that the Friday race is a grade 3, I think, for the 3-year-old Phillies. So he might just be happy with a third place, a grade 3.
I mean, the horse has
grade 1
grade
placing
one,
here,
a grade
but
1 already. So I don't.
yeah.
I
So,
don't,
but
for black,
if he's putting her in against the boys, I'm gonna give it some respect for that. So I would use the 3 as well.
Jason.
Yeah, and just the 1 is also Lope de Vega also, Tom. I don't know if you saw that.
And I out of foreign dam and foreign grant. Yeah, it's another
pretty odd that both of those horses are the same sire. But my second choice is your 2. Just for the reasons you gave. I want a horse that's going to be close to the pace in this race because there's not a lot of speed. So, but I'm also going to use Farbridge, the 5, and then the 6, Webslinger. If you look at the Theragraph, he's paired or tripled 5s. So he might be ready to make a step up. And there's really, I think the 5 is the best speed figure I've seen on Theragraph for this race. So, if he's got to move up, he's got a shot.
Yeah, for me, I think Webslinger was the other horse that I would use. That's another one where kind of like a Darth Vader, where that horse just fires every time. The last race he was kind of compromised with wide trip, which we know in stakes races just isn't going to get the job, or turf races is not going to get the job done. You need to kind of save ground in turf races. But so he fires every time. I think that's the other way to go. I do love the 1 for board. I can see the horse being right there, and with Rosario, just like last time, at a big number, hung on it for 3rd. Now you're not going to get 41-1, obviously, but I do like that horse to definitely touch the board. And my play is going to be a little bit against Farbridge. So obviously board is huge for the horse, but I'm not going to not a horse I would use on top. Maybe gain a little bit of value with that decision. All right, let's finish it off. The reason why they run Saturday is the grade 1 Whitney, which is a 1.8 for 3-year-olds and up. Usually a pretty good race. This is another one. Did not draw. Kind of we're seeing on the dirt these 2-turn races on the not draw in a big field. However, it does have pretty good quality. I mean, you have a couple probably pigs, but overall the quality is there. Definitely a standout as well. And I think Jason, I already forget. Are you first here? So Jason, grade 1 Whitney, where's your top pick?
I mean, obviously the 6 Cody's Wish is the best horse in this race. My concern is there doesn't seem to be a ton of speed in this race. And we know how speed favoring Saratoga is. So I still think he wins. I just think he's better than these horses. And on 99% of my tickets, I'm going to use Cody's Wish. I may do one small play using the 2 Charge It, who should be closer to, because I think the 3 will probably go to the lead, Saez on Giant Game. Charge It will be close to him, but I think Cody's Wish wins. So 6 for sure, 99.9% of my tickets.
Chalky?
Yeah, I'm going to burn some more money on Charge It, the 2, as the top pick. I think this is probably the race that you're going to have Cody's Wish most vulnerable before, the end of the year, and he's only run more than a mile on 2 turns twice. Certainly bred for it, curling out of a Tabit mare, but Mott just hasn't been running him in these mile 8th, mile 16th races even. But when he's run so well at the other ones, I guess why switch? But the pace scenario, Charge It will get first run, ran a good race at the Suburban last time out. Didn't really beat a lot, but
that Suburban
speed figure came back.
Was absolutely atrocious field. I mean, it was. It just was.
Yeah.
The fact that Charger got the lead so easily was kind of a joke because that's not a horse that should be necessarily on the lead that easily in these stakes races. But that field was
Yeah.
atrocious.
So I'm going to say he gets there quicker. He's not a better horse by any means, but at 3-5 on 2 turns a mile and 1/8, I'll go against Cody's Wish on top.
Yeah, I just can't see it. I mean, Cody's Wish, his turn of foot is just crushing. He in that Met, he went from last to first, and as they were making the turn, he went last to first. It was just eye catching. He's only went the one turn once in Tampa. He was a totally different horse at that time, and still ran a pretty big race in the Grade 3 Challenger. Um, you know, Scalding beat him, who actually turned out to be a good, decent horse. Not saying that was a great field, but the horse was completely different than he is today. He's just in top form. It's 6 horses. Yes, he's going to be coming from behind. I don't think the pace is going to be crushing, and we've seen this with the Brad Cox filly that we a bunch of scratches that won to wet paint, where horses that want to come from behind don't necessarily need fast paces if there isn't a lot of separation between first and last, because they have the best closing kick, and if they're close enough, they're going to outclose these these horses that are so-called on the lead, speed horses. And I think it could be a situation like that. But one thing that could hurt this horse is Alvarado, but he has not yet, because I think the horse is just that good. Like I said, in the Met Mile, he had him dead last and just wasn't even, looks like he was moving, and all of a sudden, boom. So Cody's Wish for me is a complete standout. Now I'll give you the exacta here. It's Cody's Wish, and that's over Zandon, who loves to get second. And I think the horse is going to get second again. But Jason, were you moving in any other direction? I know you said the bulk of your play is Cody's, but
I probably won't play anything else but Cody on top.
Chalky.
Cody and charge it. That's it for me. Zandon will run second or third because that's what he does.
Yeah.
But I'm done trying to get him in the winner's circle until he actually does it.
Yeah, no, he's not winning, but he's going to run second. I mean, it's an exacta that might pay $3, but he's going to run second.
Yeah,
I know Charge It
play 200 times.
Charge It's another one that loves to burn money. So Charge It coming off a bigger number might be one that is the second choice over Zandon.
I think he will be. I think he will be.
So I think you might get more than $2 on the exacta, but I don't think you're going to get more than $3-4 on the exacta. But we shall see. All right. Well, I think that wraps up episode 66 of Broad Street Hustle. We covered Phillies. We've covered a little Saratoga for you. Hopefully the weather is good at Saratoga. We don't see a ton of scratches because our pod kind of conversations and picks has just been deteriorated by horses that have been scratching. A lot of our top picks have been scratching out. I do believe last week we gave out 2. Was it 1 or 2 where all 3 of us had the same top pick, and one, I don't think the ROI was all that good, but they did win nonetheless. So hopefully, I'm sure there was somebody today that we all, maybe Caravel, that we all had as our top pick that'll close it out. But episode 66 Broad Street Hustle, that's all we got for tonight. Have a good night.